start from I think June. Okay, June 2018. Okay, baru start ada ANOVA questions. Kalau year yang mana yang tak ada ANOVA questions tu, usually the questions give you the for apa? Question for two population for independent and dependent. Okay, so if the question have questions for independent and dependent, so there is no ANOVA questions. But if the questions only give you either independent or dependent, so nanti soalan tu akan ada ANOVA. For example, independent sample test with ANOVA ataupun dependent questions with ANOVA. Okay, so the either one lah. So for ANOVA questions dia tak banyak, right? So kalau tengok example kat sini ada 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 semester je. Okay, so untuk the first questions for December 2019, okay, so the question already give you the ANOVA table. Okay, so for A, compute the value of R, S, T, and U. So in these questions, okay, since the marks there, okay, kalau you tengok marker ada only 3 marks, okay, so you know that to calculate the value for R, okay, you need to have your data. Okay, T1 square over N1 plus T2 square over N2. So in this example, you have 4 different variety. Okay, but since in this question, there is no data for the questions. So how to find the value of R? You can just minus total ni, 1460 minus 1083.250. So you will get the value of your R. And then if you look at the marks, there is only 1 mark for R. So you tak boleh guna formula lah, since there is no data for the varieties of the rambutan. Okay. So for R nanti you will get the value is 377.187. Okay, so for R the value is, okay, sama ada you nak tolak, or you can also use this mean square times with your degree of freedom pun boleh juga. Since you know that to find the value of R, the mean square, R over 3 is equal to 125.729. So to get the value of R, you just times with 3. Okay. So either you want to minus this value or times the value. So you will get the value of R. And then for S, so you know that S is the degree of freedom for within group, okay, for your error. So the formula is your number of observation minus with K. Okay, you punya number of treatment. So in this case, you know that 4 different varieties of rambutan, and then dia ambil 4 tree for each variety. So you have A, B, C, and D. And then for each sample, you have 4. Okay, ni pun ada 4. Okay, example je lah ni. So maksudnya, your total number of observation, your punya total sample size is 4 times with 4. So 16 lah. Okay, so you tahu your number of observation is 16. So 16 minus with 4, so you will get the value of S. Okay, so you akan dapat value for S is 12. Okay, so this is the value of S. And then for T, since you already know the value of number of observation is 16, so for T, 16 minus 1, you will get the value is 15. Okay, so that is the value for your S and T. And the last one for your U, so just divide this value, 125.729 divided by 90.271. So you will get the value is 1.3928. Okay. So make sure when you answer the questions, okay, you need to show how you get the value. Okay, maksudnya don't just write the final value. Okay, make sure you show how you get U. 125.729 divided by 90.271. So you will get 1.3928. Okay, so make sure you show how you get the value. Okay, so that is for question A. And then for question B, okay, state the null and alternative hypothesis for this study. Since the question already asked you the hypothesis, so just write your hash null and hash 1. Since in these questions you have 4 different variety, A, B, C, and D, so just let mu A is equal to mu B is equal to mu C is equal to mu D. And then your hash 1 is fixed. You say that at least one pair of treatment means are differ. Okay, so that is your hypothesis. So if the questions, okay, dia terus bagi the A and then C. Based on the p-value, test at 5% level of significance whether the mean yield differ on the 4 different varieties. So if the questions do not ask you about the hypothesis, make sure when you answer question for C, you start from your hypothesis. Okay, and then baru your p-value and then until your conclusion. Okay, tapi if the question already asked you about your hypothesis on the previous questions, for example this one, so for C, we just start with the next step, your p-value. Okay, no need to write back your hypothesis, tak perlu. Since on the previous question already asked you about the hypothesis. Okay, so kiranya macam B dengan C ni soalan dia sekali lah. Okay, tapi kalau dia tanya asing, so you buat jawab B for hypothesis and then C continue from p-value until conclusion. But if the questions do not ask you about the hypothesis, so for C, you need to start from hypothesis until your conclusion. Okay. So since the question already asked you to use p-value, so you need to use this value lah. Okay, this is your p-value. So your p-value is 0.293 and then you compare the value with your alpha 0.05. So since the value is more than, so you fail to reject your hash null. So you say that all the value is the same. Okay. So bila the question asks you whether the mean yield differ. Okay, soalan tanya differ. Tapi bila you test, you fail to reject the hash null. So you kata sama je mean dia. So when you write your conclusion, we say that there is not enough evidence to conclude that the mean yield differ on the 4 different varieties. So you akan dapat not enough evidence ke sini. Okay, so this is the answer for December 2019. So any questions for the first questions? Boleh?
Boleh, dapat sama.
Boleh,
Alright,
sama
so
juga.
kalau tak ada any questions, kita tengok on the next one. So for June 2019, okay, so in these questions, sama juga dia bagi you ANOVA table and then just compute the missing value. So the question asks you to find the value of A, B and C. Okay, so sama je. So for A, just minus je the value. So nanti you will get the value is 66.95. And then for B, this is the degree of freedom for within group or for your error. So whether you want to, kat sini dia ada bagi tahu tak? Okay, so sama ada you tahu this is n minus 1. So you know that the n is 20. So in this case, 20 minus 4. So you akan dapat 16 untuk B. Or you can also just minus 19 minus with 3. You will get the same answer. Okay, so either one lah, whether you want to find first the value for your number of observation, either you minus with number of treatment, or you just minus your degree of freedom for total, minus with degree of freedom for the treatment. So you will get the same value. Okay, boleh je. Okay, so that is for the second value, okay, for B. And then the last one for C, you just divide je this value. So you will get the value is 8.5835. Okay. So itulah untuk you punya C. And then B, state the null and alternative hypothesis. So sama je lah. Since you have 1, 2, 3, 4, you ada 4 types of diet program. So whether you want to let 1 as low calorie, 2 as low fat calorie, 3 as low carbohydrate and 4 as control group. And then for your hash null, you just write macam ni. And then your H1 masih sama. At least one pair of treatment means are differ. So the next one C, using F test. So the question already mentioned you the method. So kena follow lah. Is there is sufficient evidence to indicate that there is a difference in mean weight loss among the 4 diet program? So questions tanya sama ada difference. Okay. Since the question asks you to use F test. So for B, we just write the hypothesis. And then for C, you just tulis lah F calculated you. Just start from F calculated. No need to write back your hypothesis. Okay. So this is the value. And then for your critical value, since the question asks you to use alpha 0.05, and then this is the value for your V1, and this is the value for your V2. Okay. So nanti bila you refer to statistical table, the value is 3.24. Okay, and then you compare this value with this value. Since your F calculated is more than your critical value, so you will reject your hash null. So you memang kata ada difference. So when you write your hypothesis, you say that there is sufficient evidence to indicate that there is a difference in mean weight loss among the 4 diet program. So kita kata ada enough evidence lah or sufficient evidence. Okay. So itu adalah untuk question Jun 2019. Okay. So usually kalau soalan ANOVA ni dia akan bagi dah output lah. Tapi ini adalah example yang mana you sit for the exam. Maksudnya you memang jawab these questions yang memang you tak ada nota. Okay. So untuk ODL question, I tak ingat yang I upload untuk yang the past 2 semester. Untuk the first semester yang ODL tu memang there is no ANOVA table. Untuk last semester, I tak sure ada ke tak, I tak ingat. Nanti you check balik yang I dah upload tu. Okay, untuk soalan ANOVA ada ke tak, I tak ingat. Okay. So itu adalah untuk Jun 2019. Okay, and then untuk next one, December. Okay, so untuk December, kat sini sama, dia dah bagi dekat you dah. Okay, dia punya ANOVA table. And then for A, using the sum of square between formula. So dia suruh guna formula sum square untuk treatment yang A ni. Okay, dia suruh show. So bila soalan ni dia suruh show, so you kena guna formula yang ni lah. Okay, untuk between group ataupun treatment. Since dekat sini you ada berapa tau? Dia punya brand, you ada 3. So you kena carilah total untuk setiap satu tu. So, soalan tu memang minta you to show the value, so you kena kira. So you tak boleh terus buat C times 2 dapat A, tak boleh. Okay, make sure you use the correct formula. So you need to find the value for each brand, kena kira total dia berapa. Okay, and then dapatkan the value for N. So nanti you akan dapat total untuk this one is 57. Okay, and then this one 73, ni 76. So nanti just squarekan the value. 7 square over okay, and then bila you kira the summation of x nanti untuk total semua ni, you will get the value is 206 square over, so the total number of observation 5 kali 3, 15. Okay. So since the question ask you to show, so just tulis je lah. Okay, so macam tu sahaja untuk A. And then for B, so B ask you within group your error. So to find the value for B, just minus lah. 164.933 minus with A yang you dah dapat tadi. So you will get the value for B is 123.2. And then for C, C is the mean square for between group. So for the value for A, divide by 2. So you will get the answer for C is 20.8665. Okay, and then for D, B divide by 12, so you will get the value is 10.2667. So make sure you show how you get the value. Okay, so that is for A. So kalau you tengok the marks for questions A is 5 marks. Okay, since for the value for A you have 2 marks. Okay, one for the formula and then another one is how you show the value. Okay, substitute the value into the formula. So that is for A. And then for B, state the null and alternative hypothesis. So kalau nak tengok apa dia punya questions ni, boleh tengok on the next questions. So nak tahu sama ada there is difference in time taken. Okay, delete from the header. And then since dekat sini you punya hash null, you have 3 brand. So mu A is equal to mu B is equal to mu 1, mu 2, mu 3. Okay, and then you punya H1 sama fix. Okay, at least one pair of treatments are differ. And then untuk C, so untuk C, since you have the value for your F calculated and also P value, and then the questions do not mention about any method, so you can choose whether you want to use F calculated or P value. Okay, tapi nak lebih mudah, you just guna je P value. Okay, nanti you akan dapat sama je, the result will be the same. Okay, so kalau you guna F calculated, so your F calculated is 2.032. And then for your F critical value, your V1 is 2, your V2 is 12. So nanti you compare these two value. And then kalau you guna P value, this is your P value. And then your alpha is 0.05. So since this value is more than this value, so we say that we fail to reject our H null. So bila fail to reject our H null, kita akan kata there is not enough evidence to indicate that there is a difference. Since bila you fail to reject your H null, you say that dia punya mean times tu sama je for all brand. Okay, tak ada beza. So itu adalah untuk Disember 2018. And the last one is June 2018. So for June 2018, compute the value P, Q, R, S, T. Okay, so you can cari 5 benda. So sama untuk P, just tolak saja. 1857.2 tolak 1687.2. So you will get the value is 170. Okay. So sini 170. And then Q, since you have 4 manual, okay, so 4 minus 1. So Q should be 3. And then for R is your number of observations. So you already know that there is 20 students. So 20 minus 4, so you will get the value is 16. Or you can just minus 19 minus with 3. You will get the same value. And then for your S, so the value for mean square for error or within group, this value divide by 16. So you will get the value is 105.45. And the last one for T, just divide these two value. So you will get the value is 0.5374. Okay. And then for B, compute the null alternative hypothesis for this study. So just buat je lah H null mu A is equal to mu B is equal to mu C and equal to mu D. Okay, and then for H1, at least one treatment means are differ. And then for C dah suruh use P value. So you just take this value 0.663. Okay, without divide or times with 2. Tak perlu buat apa-apa. Okay, just take the value of P value. And then you compare with 0.05. So memang you tengok value dia lebih besar. So you fail to reject your hash now. So since dekat question sini tanya whether there is any difference. So kita kata not enough evidence untuk mengatakan there is a difference. Okay. So this is how to answer the questions for ANOVA. Okay. So any questions before we look on the test of independence or chi-square distribution? So kalau
No
you tengok,
question.
Tak ada.
sebab kalau you tengok for ANOVA questions, dia macam simple je question dia. Okay, you isi tempat kosong and then you jawab je lah soalan dia. Sebab if the question ask you to construct the ANOVA table, memang tak cukup masa. Since you know that for your final untuk STA404, you have 7 questions, okay, and dia punya masanya only 2 hours, 2 jam sahaja untuk you jawab 7 soalan. Okay. So sebab tu kalau soalan ANOVA ni kalau dia suruh you construct ANOVA table memang tak sempat. Okay, memang tak sempat. Memang masa tu you akan habiskan untuk construct ANOVA table je lah. Okay. So sebab tu kalau you tengok usually dia punya output tu dia soalan tu dia lebih more to output lah. Dia banyak keluarkan output. Okay. So itu adalah untuk soalan final lah. Okay, so memang every topic dia akan keluar. Okay, topic 1, topic 2, topic 3 and topic 4 selalu dia gabung confidence interval and also hypothesis testing. And then ada test of independence memang wajib. Macam ANOVA macam saya kata ada tak ada. Okay, and then the last one is bivariate analysis yang kita baru belajar. Okay, topic 5 tu. Okay, so kalau tak ada any questions, kita tengok on test of independence pula. Okay. So for test of independence, once you nampak this cross tabulation, so you tahulah this is the question for chi-square test or test of independence. So untuk A, compute the value of C and D using an appropriate formula. So dia dah memang kata guna appropriate formula. So for C ni just your observed value. So memang dia punya formula memang tak ada, you just tolak je lah nak dapatkan the value for C. Okay, 151 minus 62 minus 75. So you will get the value of C. Or 55 minus 31. So you will get the value of your C. So you akan dapat your C is 14. Okay. And then for D, okay, so D is your expected count. So nak tak nak, you need to use the formula. Total row times total column divide by your sample size. Okay, so for this, make sure you use the correct formula. Okay, and then make sure your answer follow the decimal place untuk yang lain tu. So since dekat sini all the expected count is in one decimal place, so nanti your answer nanti make sure dia one decimal place. So nanti 4D akan dapat 74.7. Okay. So kalau you nak check, you can just add up this value with 66.8 and 23.5. But nanti you punya answer ni maybe you dapat tepat-tepat or dia macam lari sikit. Okay. So itu adalah untuk A. And then for B, calculate the chi-square statistic for this study. So in this case, you need to check your expected count since the value is all more than 5, more or equal to 5. So no need to combine the table or row, the column or row. So you need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you kena ada 6 value lah untuk nak kira you punya chi-square calculated tu. Okay, maksudnya 75 minus 61.2 square equals 61.2 plus your second, third, fourth until 6. So mesti ada 6 and then you akan dapat nanti your final answer is 12.085. Okay, so this is for B. And then for C, state the null and alternative hypothesis to test whether gender and students' attitude towards a proposed change in dormitory regulation are related. Okay, so make sure bila you write your hypothesis, this should be your H1. Okay, your H0 mesti not related. So ingat, your H1 ni apa-apa yang tak ada kaitan. Okay, independent, no association, no relationship, semua dekat H0. While your H1 is the opposite of your H0. Even though the questions give you related, okay, dia tak, bukannya dia duduk dekat H0. Okay, so dia kena duduk dekat H1 since dia adalah related. Melainkan the question say that are not related. So you kena tahulah memang duduk dekat you punya H0. And then based on the chi-square statistic, state your decision and conclusion for the above test. Okay, so maksudnya nak selamat you just start je daripada you punya value ni. And then your critical value. So you know that for critical value, for the degree of freedom, okay, the formula is row minus 1, column minus 1. Okay, since you have 1, 2 row and you have 3 columns, so your degree of freedom is 2. So maksudnya kat sini, you nak cari value nanti you akan baca 0.052. Okay, and then nanti you akan dapat the value is 5.991. Okay, and then you compare, since this value is more than, so you reject your H0. So bila you reject, you kata je, cakap je gender and students attitude are related macam tu. Okay, tak perlu nak buat enough not enough. Kalau nak buat enough not enough, boleh you cakap enough evidence untuk mengatakan related. Macam tu je lah. Right? So ini adalah untuk Disember 2019. And then for next question, for June, so for June 2019, the question already give you the table for your chi-square, degree of freedom and also your p-value. Okay, and then dekat sini question use an appropriate formula, compute the value for D and E. Okay, so E is here, D is here. But before that, you need to check with your expected count. Okay, since in this case, your expected count, you have to value ataupun tu combination yang ada less than 5. So what you need to do is, you need to combine whether your row or your column. But in this case, you cannot combine your row since the row only 2. So kalau you combine jadi 1 lah, tak boleh. So apa you kena buat? You kena combine these 2 column, human kali IT. And then kalau you check with the degree of freedom pun, memang degree of freedom is 2. So maksudnya, dia memang dah kira 2 minus 1, your row, and column memang dia dah kira 3. So, you akan dapat 2 lah. Okay. So, macam mana nak buat? So, just combine je. So, you akan tambah lah these 2 value. So, nanti dia akan jadi dekat sini. Okay, kita combinekan table 2 tu, nanti dia akan jadi kat sini jadi 13. 13, 11.5, and then this one dia jadi 4, 5.5. And then barulah you boleh kira your D. Your D and E. So your E ni you akan ambil total row dia masih sama, 30 times with 57 divide by 93. So E nanti you will get the value is 18.4. Okay. And then for D, so D is your chi-square calculated. So for chi-square calculated, you will only have 1, 2, 3, okay, 4, 5, 6. Ada 6 je lah instead of 8. You ada 6 sahaja since you dah gabungkan these two. Okay, so akan ada 6 value saja. So 12 minus 12.9 square over 12.9 square plus 38 minus 38.6 square over 38.6 square. And then this one, 13 minus 11.5 square over 11.5 square. So yang ni pun sama, 4 minus 5.5 square over 5.5. Okay, so nanti you will get the value for your D, chi-square calculated is 0.8293. Okay, this should be the value for your D and also your E. Alright, so yang E nanti you dah kira 18.4, so you just substitute je lah. Okay, 19 minus 18.4 square over 18.4 square. So you will get this value. And then for B, state the null and alternative hypothesis for this study. So you boleh tengok on the next questions whether employee work satisfaction is related to their respective department. So remember, since the word there is related, so it should be H1. Okay. So your H null should be not related. Okay, just tukar je. And then you have P value. Kita dah mention dah guna P value. So this is your P value. So you compare 0.541 with your alpha. So your alpha is 0.05. Since the value is more than your alpha, you fail to reject your H null. So your conclusion, you just say employees' work satisfaction is not related to their respective department. Ataupun kalau you nak guna based on related, there is not enough evidence ataupun there is insufficient evidence to conclude that employees' work satisfaction is related to their respective department. Since you say that there is no relationship between these two variables. Okay, so macam tu je lah. Itu adalah untuk this one. And then for December 2018, find the value of P and Q. Okay, so P and Q. Kat sini, your P is your expected count. So macam biasa, kalau expected count je, mesti guna formula. Total row kali total column divide by your sample size. Okay, so you akan dapat the value of P is 40.6. Ambil 1 decimal place. Why? Since semua ni satu decimal sahaja. And then for Q, since kalau you tengok all the expected count is more than 5, more or equal to 5, so no need to combine the column or row. So just akan ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So ada 6 lah, 6 value. And then you will get the value for your Q is 16.3412. Okay, so this is the answer. And then for B, state the null and alternative hypothesis. So since kalau you tak tahu related to their smoking habit, so since this is related, so this should be at your H null, H1, and then your H null, you just say the program of the student is not related to their smoking habit. And then itu adalah untuk B. And then for C, dia suruh test. Since there is dia tak mention on the method, so whether you want to use chi-square calculated or you can use P value, okay, to answer the questions. So if you use P value, you compare 0.01 with your alpha, 0.00 with your alpha 0.01. Since the value is less than, so kita dapat reject H null. So bila reject H null, kita kata the program of student is related to their smoking habit ataupun there is sufficient evidence to conclude that the program of the students is related to their smoking habit. Okay, so itu adalah untuk December 18. Okay, and then okay, and then untuk Jun 2018. Jun 2018, the question asks you to compute the value for E, F and G. So is your observed count ataupun observed frequency ataupun dia punya count. So nak dapatkan value E ni you just minus je 150 minus 80 minus 40, or you can also minus 50 minus 10 minus 10. So make sure you ambil value yang ke atas ni tau. Okay, yang sebaris dengan dia. Kalau you ambil value yang bawah ni, wrong lah. This is your expected count, not your count. Okay, so make sure you ambil yang row ke atas ni. Okay, so that is for E. So you will get the value for your E is 30. Okay, you will get E is 30. And then for F, since F is your expected count, so you need to times 50 times 160 over 300. And then since all the decimal place is in one decimal place, so you will get the value for your F is 26.7. Right, and the last one is your G. G is your degree of freedom. So you know that the formula is row minus 1, column minus 1. Since you have 3 row, okay, and 3 column, so the answer for G should be 4. Okay, so make sure you show this calculation. Okay, row minus 1 times with column minus 1. So you will get the value for your G is 4. Right. So that is for question A. And then for question B, state the null and alternative hypothesis to test whether the customer opinion and the size of the hotel are related. Okay. So this is for your H1. And then for your H null, they must be not related. Okay. And then for C, based on the P value, so you just use this one, 0.068. Okay. So you compare 0.068 with your alpha 0.10. So since this value is less than, so you akan reject your H null. Okay. So bila you reject your H null, you say that customer opinion and the size of the hotel are related. Ataupun there is enough evidence to conclude that customer opinion and the size of the hotel are related. Okay. So itu adalah untuk question Jun 2018. And then ada lagi dua. Okay. So for January 2018, for A, find the value of A and B. So sama A, you just minus 95 minus 55 minus 5. So you will get the value of your A is 35. While for B, you need to use your formula 105 times 75 divided by 200. So you will get the value is 39.4. So make sure you take one decimal place only. Since semua ni satu. Okay. And then for B, state the hypothesis. So kat sini question ask you whether working status is related to the frequent usage of the gravy grab. So this is your H1. So your H null, we say that working status is not related to the frequent usage of the gravy grab. Okay. So itu adalah untuk B. And then for C, use P value. So this is your P value. You compare with 0.10. Since your P value is less than 0.10, so you reject your H null. Okay. So bila you reject, you say that working status is related to the frequent usage of gravy grab, or there is enough evidence to conclude that working status is related to the frequent usage of gravy grab. And the last one for July 2017. So in this question, calculate the value A and B. So A macam biasa, you just minus 6, or 50 minus 26 minus 10. Okay. So you will get the value for A is 14. And then for B, 70 times 100 divided by 150. So you will get the value is 46.7. So just ambil one decimal place sahaja. And then for B, state the hypothesis. So hypothesis is whether there is an association crowd on the train delay. So you know that this is for your H1, and then your H null, you mesti there is no association. Okay, so make sure if the question say that related ke, okay, macam ni pun sama, related. So make sure you use the word related. Okay, so saya tak nak tiba-tiba you cakap customer opinion and the size of the hotel are independent. Customer opinion and the size of hotel are dependent. Okay, so make sure you use the correct word. Kalau soalan tanya related, use related. If the question say that are dependent, so you use dependent. Okay, follow the questions. Okay, so saya tak nak lah dia tanya related, tiba-tiba you jawab apa namanya itu independent dengan dependent. Okay, kalau you cakap no relationship dengan other relationship, boleh terima lagi. Okay, so make sure you use the correct word. So same goes to for July 2018. So dekat sini they mention about an association. So when you write your hypothesis for H0, there is no association. Okay, and then H1 there is an association. Okay, so follow questions. So itu adalah untuk B, and then for C use P value. So this is your P value and compare. So in this case, since there is no value for your alpha, so macam biasa just use alpha at default is 0.05. Okay, so kalau tak ada, you guna 0.05. Okay, so you compare this value with 0.05. Since this value is more than, so we fail to reject our H now. So kita kata there is no association between station crowd and train delay. Okay, ataupun there is not enough evidence to conclude that there is an association between station crowd and train delay. Okay, so nanti you boleh tengok balik on tutorial questions. Okay, so now I nak explain on
Miss, nak tanya.
uh,
Untuk June 2019,
June. June, sekejap. June 19. Ni.
yang ni, macam mana kita nak tahu kita kena combine human resource dengan IT ataupun mana-mana table?
Oh, dia macam mana you nak tahu kena combine dengan yang mana? You boleh je combine human resource dengan sale.
Tak, maksud saya macam mana nak tahu soalan tu kita kena combine table and kita tak payah kena combine.
Ni, your expected count ni less than 5.
Oh, kena tengok expected count je?
Sebab kalau you tengok, sebab kalau you tengok dia punya, apa nama itu? Dia punya assumption untuk test of independent, dia mesti dekat situ dia kata, ni, the expected frequency for in each cell must be 5 or more. So kalau you tengok expected count, kalau you tengok untuk this one 2.6, this one 2.9. Okay, so kalau ni memang less than 5, so you need to combine the table. Okay, so sama juga macam example yang macam ni. Mana dalam slide tu. Okay, so yang ni kalau you tengok, okay. Lagi satu, this one 3.3. So this one less than 5. So you need to combine. So column bila tak boleh combine, since memang tinggal 2 je. So you combine with the row. Okay. So untuk row ni pun, dia tak semestinya you nak combine satisfactory dengan poor. You boleh je combine excellent dengan poor. Tak kisah. As long as value poor ni dia akan jadi more than 5 lah, the expected frequency. Tapi nak mudah, you just combine yang mana yang dekat je lah. Okay, yang mana yang dekat dengan dia. Okay, so kalau you tengok on tutorial untuk past year questions, so kalau you tengok yang lain, okay, this one your expected frequency semua more than 5. Okay, yang satu soalan ni je dia ada less than 5. Yang lain semua expected count dia ataupun expected frequency dia memang more than 5. So yang tu je lah, you just check your expected frequency ataupun expected count you. Sama ada dia 5 ataupun kurang daripada 5 macam tu. Boleh?
Boleh Miss. Lepas tu Miss, kalau contohnya dia ada 3 column yang expected count dia less than 5, kita boleh combine 3-3 tu?
Boleh.
Boleh
as
juga
long as bila boleh je
okay.
You combine 3 tu. Combine 3. Boleh kot. Boleh.
Alright.
As long as kalau you combine 3 tu, you still boleh jadikan dia akan ada 2 row. Contohnya you ada satu lagi yang kat sini. Contohnya you ada kat sini X. So bila you nak combine 3 ni, so you combine 3 ni, you akan still ada 2 column. So you boleh lagi buat apa namanya tu? C minus 1. Betul tak?
Betul.
Itu.
Alright, thank you Miss.
Alright. Lagi nak tanya?
Tak ada. Nampak dah.
Alright.
Thank you.
So untuk you punya assignment tu, okay, so nanti you submit untuk front cover I dah bagi, just edit je. And then untuk mana for those yang nak guna SPSS, so you can refer to this note. Okay, so if the question ask you on one population mean, okay, so you just guna macam ni je lah. So you kena tengok juga sama ada the question is for confidence interval ataupun the questions based on the hypothesis testing. Since you know that for hypothesis testing, you have a test value, the value for your mean population. So you need to substitute into your SPSS output. Okay, in case you have the value for your test value. So you kena masukkan lah. Okay, kalau soalan tu tak ada bagi test value, so no need to substitute the value for your test value. Okay, so untuk one population mean, macam ni je lah, you just masukkan je value dia. Okay, so usually untuk soalan selalunya, contohnya lah saya tunjuk. Okay, saya tunjuk je, saya cari soalan. So kalau you tengok soalan untuk one population mean, selalunya you akan nak keluarkan table dia adalah table yang just ada mean, standard deviation and standard error mean tu je. So macam mana nak keluarkan output dia? Okay, kena ada dia punya variables dia. Okay, so untuk one sample test, so you kena keluarkan these two table. Okay, so macam mana nak keluarkan dia? Since you have this data, okay, you contoh dia kata a sample of 15 bug were tested and the length of life are as follows. Okay, so macam mana you nak buat? Okay, so you akan substitute this value, okay, all this value ni. Okay, you akan masukkan, since yang ni dia ada length of life kan. So you just substitute dekat dalam you punya data ni. Okay, mula-mula you pergi dekat you punya variable view ni. Okay, dekat variable view ni you tulis length life length of life, contohnya lah. Okay, length of life length ke, tak kisahlah. Okay, so this is your variable. You tulis dulu dekat variable view, and then dekat data view nanti dia akan tulis. I tekan sekejap. Okay, so nanti dekat data view ni, okay, so dia akan keluar kat sini length life contohnya. So you masukkanlah all these 15 value ni. Kira you kena masukkan manually macam tu. 4,300 sampailah 15. You masukkanlah semua data dia, and then baru you run. Okay, analyze, follow je lah. Follow this one. Follow je lah. Analyze, descriptive, analyze, compare, one sample t-test and then insert variable. So kalau dah ada bagi test value, you just masukkan test value.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Amirul Hafiz, 2019-505-548 daripada kursus STA404 dan saya bersama dengan
saya Siti Sarah binti Memano, 2019-268-772 daripada STA405.
okay, first kali objektif sulam, pendapat saya lah, ianya dapat memberikan ruang dan peluang kepada para pelajar untuk seperti saya untuk mengadakan sebuah program khidmat masyarakat.
Saya berdasarkan program yang telah kami jalankan semalam, iaitu berdoa tajuk itu, saya rasa sikit sebenarnya tercapai sebab antara objektif
Objektif program
memberikan tumpuan yang penuh dan dapat menjawab dengan baiklah.
And then once dah ada this value,
Pada pendapat Amirul,
you buatlah. Cuma dekat step yang kedua, you kena guna, tengok kalau since case dia adalah less than 15, so you akan guna T calculated, and then since this is the case for hypothesis testing, so x bar minus mu naught over s over square root of n. So you tak nak you kena guna T calculated. You tak boleh guna p value since you tak ada output yang ini, SPSS output. Okay, so itu adalah untuk case one population. And then kalau case two population, untuk soalan assignment tu untuk case two population memang semua orang kena guna SPSS. Kenapa? Sebab you tahu for case two population means you ada dua case, whether equal or unequal variance. So macam mana nak test dia? You kena test for living test. So nak test for living test, you need to have the SPSS output. You memang kena ada this one. This table. Untuk you nak test, nak ambil p-value untuk living test. Okay. So you kena masukkan output tu. Cuma kalau dalam case yang ini macam mana pula, so dekat you punya data view ni you kena masukkan lah. Since you have two variable, so you just masukkan je lah. Contohnya you ada A dengan B, group A dengan group B contohnya. So you buatlah variable A, variable B. So nanti dekat you punya data view ni you akan ada A, you ada B. And then you masukkan je lah data for A. Okay, contohnya data A tu dia ada 1, 5, 7, B ada 2 dengan 3, 2 dengan 5 contohnya. So masukkan je lah 1, 5, 7, 2 dengan 5. Okay, and then follow je. So untuk tu population, okay, you boleh tengok ni. So analyze, compare means, independent sample t-test. And then for test variable, sorry. Kalau case untuk tu population bukan macam tu. Icon dah pening dah. Alright, so kalau untuk tu population, since you tahu you kena ada satu variables and then satu lagi numerical. Contohnya you suruh test on the mean. Kalau contoh kat dalam soalan ni dia. Dia bagi tahu battery lifetime. So battery lifetime ni adalah you punya numerical data, and then you ada dua group, 1 dengan 2. So bila you buat macam ni, you masukkan dekat dalam data tu, nanti you akan masukkan dekat sini adalah dia punya dia punya battery lifetime tu. Okay, battery lifetime. So this is the first variable. And then untuk the second one adalah group. Cuma nanti dekat values ni you kena let. Satu ni group A, dua ni group B. Macam tu. So yang battery ni you just biar dalam scale je lah. Sebab nanti you akan masukkan dia punya data tu. Okay, dia akan masukkan data. Okay, contoh. Contohnya saya ada group A dengan B. And then untuk group A contohnya saya ada 5, 7, 8, ni 1, 2. Okay, so nanti dia akan ada battery dengan group. So this is the battery lifetime, and then group you pilih sama ada 1 ataupun 2. So bila you masukkan dalam data, nanti dekat sini dia adalah battery, and then sini adalah group. Ataupun you nak buat group dulu baru battery, tak kisah. So bila battery ni berapa, contohnya you kata battery dia adalah 5. Okay, masukkan battery dia adalah 5. Nanti dekat group ni you kena pilih sama ada group A or group B. So nanti you pilih lah, since dia adalah group A, so you pilihlah group A ataupun 1. And then yang kedua pula, battery lifetime 7. So 7, and then you tengok tak, group A ke group B? Group A. Okay, nanti sebab tu dekat sini, you let the value. 1 is for A, 2 is for B. Okay, macam you buat dalam project. Okay, project pun sama, you buat macam tu. Gender, male, female. So nanti you pilih lah, male dengan female. You akan define group nanti. Kalau you tengok dekat, mana? Dekat this one, nanti you kena define you punya group tu. Ya. Kat sini nanti. Group variable, test variable, and then grouping tu nanti dia kena pilih lah, define 1 dengan 2. Since you only have 2 population. Okay, and then nanti you just masukkan je macam biasa. So nanti ni contohnya ni. Okay, contohnya you masukkan 8 group A juga, and then 1 group B, 2 pun nanti group B. So dia jadi macam ni lah. Okay, you punya data, and then you run je lah. Analyze, lepas tu compare mean 2, lepas tu nanti you akan masukkan dekat dia punya nama dia tu, yang untuk macam dependent tu, yang kalau you masukkan dalam project tu, you akan masukkan yang ni lah, battery lifetime ni, and then dekat bawah tu you define group tu 1 dengan 2, you define group A dengan B. So nanti you akan dapat output dia memang output yang macam ni. This one. Okay, you akan dapat output yang macam ni. And then nanti you kena test dulu lah, nak tahu dia equal ke unequal variance. Okay, so nak tahu macam mana, you guna ni lah, test for living test. So nanti you akan dapat lah sama ada equal ataupun unequal. And then nanti boleh guna sama ada nak guna p-value ataupun nak guna t-calculated, boleh mana-mana. Okay, so itulah untuk tu independent sample test. And kalau dependent, you kena dapatkan output. So mana yang nak guna manually, memang tak boleh guna manually. Sebab you kena test untuk living test, nak tahu dia equal ke unequal. Okay, so untuk yang tu population untuk case independent, semua orang kena buat SPSS. Okay, and then nak keluarkan data untuk dependent. So nak keluarkan data yang macam ni ha. You ada yang sample statistik dengan this one. So just masukkan je lah, follow yang macam saya tunjuk tu. Contohnya you ada 2 population. So just masukkan lah population pertama, population kedua. So nanti dia akan keluar dekat sini population pertama, population kedua. And then bila you keluar tu nanti kalau you guna dependent ni, kalau you follow dia, okay, compare mean pet sample t-test. So nanti dia akan buat apa, variable 1, variable 2. So you masukkanlah, ini adalah untuk first variable, ini adalah untuk second variable. Itulah. Okay. So nanti you just run. Nanti you akan dapat table yang macam ni. Okay. So you just copy je. So itulah untuk dependent. And then untuk ANOVA nak dapatkan table table ANOVA yang between dengan within group tu, this table. So macam mana nak dapatkan dia? Okay, so macam mana nak dapatkan yang macam ni Okay. So sama juga, contohnya you ada macam ni kan, you ada manual A, B, C and D. So sama juga, dekat you punya data tu, you akan tulis contohnya, okay, dekat data tu you ada, contohnya macam ni, you ada dia punya response dia adalah the score. Okay, score ni adalah you punya dependent variable. So sama, you akan letak kat sini adalah score. And then yang bawah ni adalah dia punya manual. Ataupun you nak buat manual dulu, boleh. Lagi senang. Manual. Score lah. Score and then manual. So manual ni, you kena label lah. You kena label 1A, 2B. Okay, sebab dia tak boleh baca word. Okay, 3C, 4D. Okay, so yang score ni dia akan jadi kat sini scale lah. Di sini scale, sini nominal. Okay, untuk manual. So bila you masukkan data nanti dekat data view ni, dia akan ada nanti score manual. Okay. So bila you nak masukkan dekat dalam data ni, so contohnya score ni adalah 67. So you masukkan 67 and then untuk manual ni you pilih lah A. So 67 A. Okay, and then kalau contohnya nak masukkan 89, so 89 dia adalah B. So you pilih lah nombor 2. Okay, B. So you just masukkan lah. So you ada berapa semua ni, you kena masukkan semua ni Okay. So kalau you nak guna SPSS, so nanti you akan dapat output yang macam ni. Okay. So mana yang tak nak guna SPSS, so you kena kira manually lah. You kena construct your own ANOVA table, dapatkan nilai untuk step 1 tu. Make sure kalau you kira manually, dia bukan between dengan within lah. You kena buat manual and then error. Okay. So itulah untuk ANOVA. And then untuk the last one is independent sample test. So untuk independent sample test, contohnya you ada kat sini tak ada data, dia dah bagi output dah. So you kena ada output yang ni lah untuk untuk test of independent. You kena ada table ini dengan chi-square test. Okay, so contohnya dia punya data tu dia hanya akan bagi dekat you 46, 36, 13, 31, 20, 34. So ini adalah data dia. So macam mana you nak buat dia? Okay, untuk untuk cross tabulation. Okay, so untuk cross tabulation ni dia jadi dia jadi banyak sikit lah kerjanya. Sebab contohnya you ada you punya data ni, yang ini 46 ni adalah 46 untuk yang non dengan program dia adalah this one. Okay. So bila you masukkan dekat you punya you punya data tu, okay, you akan masukkan 46 orang ni, maksudnya you kena masukkan data tu ada 46 yang HM240 and none. Okay, so bila you masukkan data ni, You akan ada data tu 46 dengan 9. Okay, so actually sebenarnya untuk data tu you boleh je buat sekali untuk daripada question 1 sampailah you punya question apa nama itu the last question. Maksudnya kalau you variables tu you listkan je semua variables and then nanti bila nak run analysis tu you masukkan guna apa nama itu analysis yang you nak gunalah. Dia punya dependent variable yang mana, you punya apa nama itu test view yang mana. Okay, yang macam itulah. Okay, so untuk yang apa nama itu untuk yang independent sample test, okay you kena buat contohnya you ada data ni kan. Data tadi. Okay, you ada program dengan none. You ada 46. So maksudnya you kena buat bila you masukkan data tu you ada dua program dengan apa nama itu smoking habit. So you kena masukkan data tu adalah program. Kat sini you kena buat program. And then you kena let label ni. So program ni you ada 1, 2 kan. So program ni you ada 1, 2. So program label value ni 1, 2. HM240, HM242. And then untuk smoking habit you ada 3. So smoking habit variable kedua you ada 3. So you kena let lah 3 tu. So bila you masukkan data, yang ni dia banyak sikit lah kalau you nak guna SPSS. So bila you nak masukkan data, so nanti you ada kat sini program, ini smoking habit. Ada 2 variable. So dekat sini untuk smoking none, dia punya smoking habit adalah none ada 46. So maksudnya dalam kes yang ini, you kena buat 46. Maksudnya you pilih program 1 yang 242 tu and then dia punya apa nama itu habit dia. Habit dia adalah 1 none smoking habit. So program ni yang ada smoking habit dia none untuk program HM240 ni ada 60 orang. Ada 60 orang. Ada 46 orang. So you kena buat ada 46 lah. 46 yang program HM240 smoking habit dia none. So you kena buat 46 data you. Lepas tu data yang kedua untuk HM242 yang none ada 31 orang. So nanti untuk yang tu, yang ni program pertama tadi ada 46 orang and then program yang kedua pula yang none ada 31 orang. So kat sini ada 31 orang. So pair yang HM242 yang none smoking habit ada 31 orang. And then the next one pula yang HM240 yang first program yang pertama and then dia punya smoking habit dia adalah light. Contohnya you let light sebagai 2 ada 36 orang. So nanti you kena masukkan data pula. Program pertama yang smoking dia light, program yang kedua ni ada berapa tadi? 36 orang. So ada 36 orang yang HM240 HM240 and then yang kedua macam tu. Okay, maksudnya dia banyak lah you kena masukkan semua data tu. So itu mana yang nak guna SPSS output. Okay, so nanti memang kalau you run, follow je this one. Okay, follow je yang dia suruhnya. Okay, masukkan insert row and column and then chi-square and then nanti you akan dapat output yang macam ni. Okay, you memang akan dapat output yang macam ni. Okay, dia dah kirakan siap-siap lah expected count dia berapa. Okay. Tapi kalau you nak kira manually, so kalau nak kira manually, you buat macam biasalah, kira satu-satu expected count dia. And then you kira chi-square calculated. So siapa yang guna SPSS sahaja yang boleh guna p-value sebab you ada nilai p-value. Yang kira manually tu memang nak tak nak you kena guna chi-square calculated, f calculated semua tu. Okay. So ada any questions before we end our class? So apa-apa nanti you refer je nota yang ini. Okay, cuma nak masukkan data tu you kena tahulah nak masukkan data macam mana. Okay. Ada apa-apa nak tanya before we end our class?
Tiada, Miss.
Ada. Okay, so kalau tak ada, so for tomorrow, sekejap. Question apa? Okay, so kalau tak ada apa, so nanti untuk esok, kita tak buat kelas. You just siapkan je you punya assignment. Okay, so you discuss lah dekat dalam dengan your group mate. Okay, so make sure untuk assignment and also group project, so make sure there is no problems. Okay, so saya tak nak nanti tiba-tiba ada you punya kawan yang message, Miss, dia ni tak buat kerja lah Miss. Saya tak nak macam tu. Okay, saya tak nak letak nama dia, boleh tak Miss? Okay, so make sure semua orang bagi kerja sama. Okay, so saya tak nak lah ada yang sleeping partner. Okay, so make sure you all involved. Okay, untuk assignment and also group project. Okay, so kalau tak ada any questions, jangan lupa fill up your attendance and then see you next week. So untuk esok, masa kelas tu you just siapkan the assignment. So assignment last is on Friday sebelum 11.59 malam. Okay, so untuk yang assignment tu nanti just yang leader je tau yang submit. Okay, tak perlu semua orang.
Miss baru bagi hari tu kan?
Apa dia?
Bukan yang report apa tu kan?
Tak, ni assignment yang saya baru bagi hari tu.
Okay.
Okay, so tapi group sama macam group project. Okay, follow group tu je. Cuma soalan-soalan yang saya baru upload tu. So untuk tu maksudnya ada 6 group. So hanya 6 orang sahaja yang akan submit jawapan. So bukan semua orang lah. Only group leader je yang submit dekat saya. Okay. So kalau nanti ada any question nanti you boleh tanya lagi. Right.
Miss, group member yang lain kena tekan in ke biarkan je?
Yang lain tu biar je. Nanti saya tahulah. So nanti apa namanya tu siapa yang hantar, group leader yang hantar tu, so nanti you buat dekat private comment tu, you listkan je you punya apa nama itu, group mate you. Okay, group mate you siapa.
Okay Miss.
Alright, sebab nanti apa nama itu bila dah habis nanti saya akan assign yang group leader je lah, yang lain tu tak perlu pun. Okay, sebab saya tak tahu yang mana satu. Alright. Okay, so kalau tak, alright, so kalau tak ada apa, see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you, Miss. Take care.